Australia and China have agreed to pursue high-level dialogues on trade and security after years of frosty relations. That's according to Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong, who is on a 2-day trip to Beijing. Wong met with her Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi, as the two countries mark 50 years of diplomatic relations. It comes after years of strained ties. Beijing imposed sanctions on Australia after Canberra called for an international inquiry into the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. To find out more about the implications of Penny Wong's trip, reporter Rick Glauert spoke to Roger Huang of Macquarie University in Sydney.
What is the significance of Penny Wong's trip and what might she be hoping to achieve?
This is actually quite significant because China and Australia have been in a serious diplomatic freeze really in the last few years, especially especially during the COVID pandemic period. So this will be the first minister level, especially foreign minister of Australia visiting China, I believe, in something like 3 or 4 years. I think it is the 50-year anniversary of the official diplomatic relations between the People's Republic of China and Australia. So it's been kind of a good opportunity for China and Australia to try to reset their relationship.
This trip is being viewed as a patching up of relations between Australia and China. Could you tell us why the two countries have not been getting along or what they have come to blows over?
The relationship between China and Australia has gone through really dramatic changes, right? It's really only, a little bit less than 10 years ago that China and Australia are almost best buddies in many ways. And it's, of course, China's trade relationship with Australia, as is China's trade relationship with a lot of countries, where Australia's top export market is China, right? So there's a lot of economic business links and interests between Australia and China. Now, relationship has deteriorated really even before COVID, when Australia has basically exposed these alleged Chinese interference in the Australian political scene, whether it's kind of alleged espionage activities, foreign interference with Australian politicians, the electoral process, etc.
And what do you think this trip says about the way Australia is approaching its relations with China? How might they differ from other countries such as Europe or the US?
Now, of course, China in the last few years has, introduced this wolf warrior diplomacy, which has really not gone down well in the quote-unquote liberal democratic societies, right? So it's been looked at very negatively, whether in Australia or in the US or elsewhere in the UK, etc. So I think this is not just Australia or the US or others, but also from a Chinese side, a recognition that there needs to be a rethinking of how to engage these democratic societies. But at the same time, we don't see a great difference between their, Australia's formal position, which is that on the one hand, they want to continue and rebuild particularly a trade relationship with China, but at the same time, it is not going to detract from still defending the quintessential Australian values well, and it will allegedly, at least anyways, that it will not keep quiet when abuses might be happening, in Chinese-controlled areas, as well as China's relationship with Taiwan, for example.